Your car is supposed to make a statement. Some cars say, "I've got it together." Others scream, "I make questionable decisions and have terrible taste." Today, we're counting down 15 cars that make you look like an absolute clown the moment you pull up. These aren't just embarrassing, they're reputation destroyers on wheels. Let's get into it. Number 15. Pontiac Aztek, 2001 to 2005. The ugliest car ever made. Remember when Breaking Bad used the Aztek because they needed a car that screamed failure? That tells you everything. GM designed this thing using a committee that apparently included nobody with working eyeballs. The front end looks like an angry toaster, the back looks like it can't decide if it's a van or a wagon, and the plastic cladding makes it look like it's wearing a diaper. Under that catastrophic styling sits a 3.4-liter V6 making 185 horsepower, adequate but completely overshadowed by the fact that you're driving automotive humiliation. The interior is typical GM parts bin special, with plastic so cheap they make Tupperware look premium, and a center console so awkwardly placed you'll be hitting it with your elbow constantly. But here's the thing about the Aztek. It was actually practical with decent cargo space and available AWD. None of that matters when everyone's laughing at you at stoplights. This car killed the Pontiac brand's credibility years before GM pulled the plug entirely. If you're driving one today, people assume you lost a bet, or you're making an ironic statement that stopped being funny in 2003. Number 14. Chrysler PT Cruiser, 2001 to 2010. The rental car that wouldn't die. The PT Cruiser arrived in 2000 trying to cash in on retro nostalgia and succeeded for about 18 months before everyone realized it was just a terrible car with vintage styling. This thing is built on a neon platform, which should tell you everything about quality expectations. The 2.4-liter four-cylinder makes 150 horsepower, barely enough to move the 3,100-pound body with any urgency. The interior is cramped despite the tall roof. Visibility is terrible thanks to thick pillars, and the driving position feels like you're sitting on a bar stool. These things became rental fleet staples because they were cheap and distinctive, which meant every vacation included the humiliation of arriving in a PT Cruiser. The panel van version, the PT Panel Cruiser, somehow made it even worse by removing the already limited rear visibility. Reliability is typical Chrysler, meaning oil leaks, transmission problems, and electrical gremlins that make the check engine light a permanent dashboard feature. The worst part? These were everywhere in the 2000s, so everyone remembers them, and nobody remembers them fondly. Driving one today says, "I'm still holding on to 2002, and it wasn't even a good year." Number 13. Chevrolet SSR, 2003 to 2006. The midlife crisis mobile. GM looked at the declining sports car market and thought, what if we made a retro convertible pickup truck that costs $42,000 and satisfies nobody? The SSR is what happens when multiple bad ideas merge into one expensive mistake. This thing weighs 4,700 pounds because it's built on a truck frame with a retractable hardtop, but it can't truck because the bed is tiny and useless. The early models had a 5.3-liter V8 making just 300 horsepower, which is pathetic for a performance vehicle weighing 2 tons. Later models got a 6.0-liter with 390 horsepower, better but still not enough to justify the price or the embarrassment. The styling is trying so hard to be cool that it wraps around to deeply uncool, with exaggerated curves and chrome that screams, "I shop at Ed Hardy and think it's classy." These things depreciated like they were radioactive, losing half their value in 3 years. You could buy one new for $45,000, sell it 5 years later for $15,000, and that's still overpaying. The SSR doesn't know if it's a truck, a sports car, or a Hot Wheels fever dream. What it definitely is a rolling advertisement that you make terrible financial decisions and worse fashion choices. Number 12. Hummer H2, 2003 to 2009. The compensation wagon. Nothing says I have deep insecurities quite like rolling up in a Hummer H2. GM took a Chevy Tahoe, made it bigger and uglier, added thousands of pounds of unnecessary weight, and convinced people it was a status symbol. This thing is 16 feet long, 6.5 feet tall, and gets 10 miles per gallon in the city because it weighs 6,400 pounds and has the aerodynamics of a building. The 6.0-liter V8 makes 325 horsepower, which sounds good until you realize it's struggling to move 3 tons of excess. The interior is surprisingly cheap for something costing $60,000, with hard plastics and GM parts bin switches throughout. But the real problem with the H2 is what it communicates to everyone around you. I need attention desperately, and I don't care about anything except looking tough. These things were everywhere in the mid-2000s, driven by people who wanted military styling without military capability. The H2 can't actually go off-road effectively because it's too wide and too heavy, and it can't tow much despite being huge. When gas hit $4 per gallon in 2008, H2 owners discovered their $60,000 status symbols were worthless. Today, they sell for $15,000, and that's still too much because you're paying to look like a clown who never got over 2005. Number 11. Cadillac Escalade EXT, 2002 to 2013. The luxury pickup nobody needed. Cadillac looked at the successful Escalade SUV and thought, what if we ruined it by making it a pickup truck? The EXT is the answer, and it's spectacularly wrong. This thing tries to be luxurious with leather seats and wood trim while simultaneously being a truck with a bed that's too small for actual work. The mid-gate system lets you fold down the rear seats to extend the bed, which is clever engineering applied to a fundamentally stupid concept. Under the hood sits a 6.2-liter V8, making 403 horsepower, adequate power completely wasted on a vehicle that can't figure out what it wants to be. Real truck guys won't touch it because it's a Cadillac, and luxury car buyers won't touch it because it's a truck. The styling is aggressive chrome excess, with enough shiny trim to be visible from space. These things cost $65,000 new and depreciated to $20,000 in 5 years because the market for luxury pickup trucks that can't actually haul anything is exactly zero. Driving an EXT says, I wanted attention, but I'm too insecure for a sports car, so I bought this compromise that satisfies nobody. The worst part? The regular Escalade was actually good, but somebody decided to turn it into this identity crisis on wheels. Number 10. Plymouth Prowler, 1997 to 2002. The hot rod that isn't. The Prowler looked amazing in concept form, a retro hot rod for the modern age with wild styling and vintage vibes. Then Plymouth actually built it and forgot to include the important parts. This thing has the looks of a 500 horsepower street rod, but the heart of a minivan. That's not a joke. It literally uses a 3.5-liter V6 from the Chrysler minivan, making 214 horsepower, later bumped to 253. That's embarrassing power for a car trying to be a hot rod. The automatic transmission is the only option because Chrysler couldn't figure out how to package a manual, which defeats the entire purpose of a retro performance car. The open-wheel styling looks cool, but makes the car impossibly wide and impractical, and the lack of a trunk means you can't actually take it anywhere. These things cost $40,000 new, which was Corvette money, except the Corvette was faster, more practical, and didn't make you look like a clown. The Prowler attracted people who wanted to look fast without actually being fast, and everyone could tell. You'd pull up at a light, people would stare, then a minivan would gap you when the light turned green, because you literally have a minivan engine. Today, Prowlers sell for $25,000 to $40,000 to collectors who missed the memo that they're not actually collectible. Before we continue roasting these automotive embarrassments, smash that like button if you're enjoying this. Drop a comment telling me which of these clown cars you've seen in your neighborhood. Hit subscribe so you never miss our videos. And click that notification bell to be first to know when we drop new content. Trust me, the next 5 cars are even worse. Now let's get back to the countdown. Number 9. Smart for 2, 2008 to 2019. The clown car. That's literally tiny. Smart convinced people that paying $15,000 for half a car was somehow a good idea. The Fortwo is exactly what it sounds like, a 2-seater so small it makes a Miata look roomy. The 1.0-liter 3-cylinder makes 70 horsepower, which is almost adequate for a car weighing 1,800 pounds until you realize that's the same power as a 1970s lawnmower. The automated manual transmission is one of the worst gearboxes ever installed in any car, jerking between shifts like it's having a seizure and taking 3 seconds to decide which gear to choose. Highway driving is terrifying because every semi-truck that passes creates enough wind to blow you into the next county. The ride is harsh, the interior is cheap plastic fantastic, and the fuel economy is somehow worse than cars twice the size. Smart marketed these as perfect city cars that could park anywhere, which is true, but they forgot to mention you'll look ridiculous everywhere you park it. The Smart Fortwo is what you drive when you want everyone to know you make impractical decisions based on novelty instead of logic. These things depreciated to $4,000 in 5 years, and that's still too expensive for the privilege of being laughed at daily. Number 8. Chevrolet HHR 2006 to 2011. The PT Cruiser copycat. Chevy watched Chrysler sell PT Cruisers to people with questionable taste and thought, we need to get in on that action. The result was the HHR, which stands for Heritage High Roof, but should stand for Huge Horrible Regression. This thing is built on a cobalt platform, which means it drives like a cheap compact car but looks like a 1940s panel van designed by someone who hated both decades. The 2.2-liter 4-cylinder makes 149 horsepower, barely adequate for moving the 3,300-pound body. The interior is typical mid-2000s GM, meaning hard plastics everywhere, cheap materials that scratch if you breathe on them, and build quality so poor the rattles start before you leave the dealer lot. Visibility is terrible thanks to thick pillars and a high belt line, making parking a guessing game. The driving position is awkward, the seats are uncomfortable, and the whole experience feels like punishment for making bad choices. Chevy tried to make the HHR appeal to young buyers with the SS Turbo version making 260 horsepower, which just meant you could embarrass yourself faster. These things were everywhere in rental fleets because they were cheap and distinctive, which meant every business trip included the humiliation of explaining why you were driving a toaster on wheels. If you bought one new, you made a mistake. If you're still driving one today, you're living that mistake daily. Number 7. Lincoln Blackwood 2002, the one-year wonder. Ford looked at the luxury pickup market and created the Blackwood, a truck so spectacularly wrong they killed it after 1 year. This thing is a Lincoln Navigator with a bed, except the bed is carpeted, has a power tonneau cover, and is completely useless for actual truck things. You can't haul lumber because the bed is carpeted. You can't haul dirt because the bed is carpeted. You can't haul anything messy because Ford decided a luxury truck bed should be treated like a living room. The 5.4-liter V8 makes 300 horsepower, adequate power, wasted on a concept nobody asked for. These things cost $52,000 new, which was F-150 Harley-Davidson money, except the Harley could actually truck. The Blackwood was only available in black, with 2-wheel drive only, because Ford apparently didn't understand that truck buyers might want options. The interior was nice with leather and wood, typical Navigator luxury, but who cares when the truck bed is a joke? Ford sold 3,356 Blackwoods in 2002, realized their mistake, and killed it immediately. Today they're rare, but not valuable, because nobody wants a luxury truck that can't haul anything. Driving a Blackwood says, I wanted a Navigator, but I make contrarian decisions that satisfy nobody. Number 6. Subaru Baja, 2003 to 2006. The ute nobody wanted. Subaru looked at the Australian ute market and decided America needed a small pickup based on the Outback wagon. They were wrong. The Baja is what happens when you take a perfectly good Outback and add a tiny truck bed that can't haul anything useful. The 2.5-liter flat 4 makes 165 horsepower, barely adequate for a wagon and definitely inadequate for truck duties. The bed is so small you can't fit a sheet of plywood flat, defeating the entire purpose of having a truck. The styling is awkward and ungainly, like someone chopped the back off an Outback and forgot to design actual truck proportions. The driving experience is fine because it's basically an Outback, but why would you want an Outback with less cargo space and weird looks? The Baja came with a unique feature, a pass-through from the bed to the rear seats called the switchback, letting you haul long items. Cool idea, but it just highlighted how small and useless the bed was. Subaru tried to market these to young active buyers who needed occasional hauling capability, but those buyers just bought actual trucks or SUVs. The Baja sold poorly and died after 4 years. Today, they're developing a cult following among Subaru enthusiasts who appreciate weird cars, but everyone else still thinks they look ridiculous. If you're driving a Baja, people assume you wanted to be different just for the sake of being different. Number 5. Chrysler Crossfire, 2004 to 2008. The Parts Bin Special. The Crossfire looked aggressive and sporty in photos, but was actually just a Mercedes SLK wearing a Chrysler costume. This thing is built on a previous generation Mercedes platform with a Mercedes engine, which sounds good until you realize it's all the worst Mercedes parts at Chrysler prices. The 3.2-liter V6 makes 215 horsepower, adequate but not exciting for a sports car. The styling is love it or hate it aggressive, with humped fenders and an aggressive stance that divides opinions sharply. Most people hate it. The interior is parts bin catastrophe, mixing Mercedes switches with Chrysler materials in ways that satisfy nobody. Build quality is questionable, with rattles developing early and electrical gremlins that Mercedes engineers wouldn't claim. The driving experience is okay, but nothing special, with numb steering and a harsh ride that's sporty but not fun. Chrysler priced these at $33,000 new, which was Corvette territory, except the Corvette was faster, better, and didn't make you look like you shopped at AutoZone for body kits. The SRT6 version with 330 horsepower was better but rare, and still saddled with questionable styling. These things depreciated catastrophically, losing 60% of their value in 5 years. You can buy one today for $8,000, and that's still overpaying for the privilege of explaining to everyone that it's basically a Mercedes while they're not listening. Number 4. Pontiac G6 Convertible Hardtop, 2006 to 2010. The affordable embarrassment. GM decided the affordable convertible market needed a hardtop retractable roof option and created the G6 Convertible. What they actually created was a heavy, slow, unreliable compromise that satisfied nobody. The retractable hardtop adds 400 pounds and eats all the trunk space, leaving you with a car that's slower than the coupe and less practical than the sedan. The 3.5-liter V6 makes 217 horsepower, barely adequate for moving the 3,700-pound body with the top up and definitely inadequate with the top down. The roof mechanism is complex and problematic, with motors failing, sensors malfunctioning, and the whole system getting confused and stuck. When it breaks, and it will, repairs cost $3,000 to $5,000, which is more than the car's worth. The interior is typical mid-2000s GM plasticky sadness, with materials that feel cheap and controls that break easily. The driving dynamics are completely ruined by the added weight, with sluggish acceleration and wallowy handling. These things were marketed to retirees who wanted affordable convertible luxury, and they succeeded in attracting people who didn't know better. Depreciation was catastrophic because who wants a used convertible with a complex roof that's guaranteed to break? You can buy one today for $3,000 and you're still overpaying because the roof repair is coming. Driving a G6 convertible says, "I wanted a Mazda Miata, but I make worse decisions." Number 3. Chevrolet Avalanche, 2002 to 2013, the suburban pickup confusion. The Avalanche tried to be a suburban and a pickup truck simultaneously and succeeded at being neither. This thing has the midgate system that lets you fold down the rear seats and remove the rear window to extend the bed, which is clever engineering applied to a vehicle nobody needed. With the midgate closed, the bed is too short for real truck work. With it open, you lose the rear seats and still don't have a bed as long as a real truck. The styling is aggressive and blocky with plastic cladding everywhere, making it look like a Suburban wearing bad body armor. The 5.3-liter V8 makes 295 horsepower early on, later bumped to 320, adequate for moving the 5,600-pound body, but nothing exciting. The interior is nice with typical GM truck comfort, but the whole package is compromised by trying to be too many things. Real truck guys bought Silverados because the Avalanche couldn't truck properly. Suburban buyers stayed with Suburbans because the Avalanche gave up interior space for a bed they'd never use. The result was a vehicle that appealed to people who couldn't decide what they actually needed, which is a terrible reason to buy anything. These things depreciated hard because the market for confused vehicles is small. You can buy a clean Avalanche today for $12,000 and everyone will assume you couldn't decide between practical and useful, so you chose neither. Number 2. Chrysler Sebring Convertible, 2008 to 2010. The rental queen. The late model Sebring Convertible represents everything wrong with Chrysler in the 2000s. Cheap materials, poor engineering, and style over substance. This thing was everywhere in rental fleets because it was cheap, had a convertible top, and Chrysler would sell them to rental companies at deep discounts. The problem is, everyone remembers them from vacation rentals, which means driving one now broadcasts, "I have rental car taste on a permanent basis." The 2.4-liter four-cylinder makes 173 horsepower, barely adequate, while the V6 makes 235 horsepower, but comes with worse fuel economy. The soft top is better than the complex hardtop in the PT Cruiser, but it's still cheap and leaks over time. The interior is an ocean of hard plastics with a dashboard so cheap it feels hollow when you tap it. Build quality is atrocious with rattles, squeaks, and trim pieces that fall off regularly. The driving experience is numb and disconnected, with vague steering and soft suspension that makes corners an adventure. These things were marketed to retirees in Florida who wanted affordable convertible transportation and succeeded in becoming the official car of people who gave up. Reliability is typical Chrysler disaster with transmission problems, electrical gremlins, and rust developing in the soft top mechanism. You can buy one today for $4,000, which is $4,000 too much to look like you make rental car decisions permanently. Number 1. Any heavily modified early 2000s sedan with ridiculous body kits, the ultimate clown mobile. We've reached number 1, and it's not a specific car but a whole category of terrible decisions. Any Honda Civic, Acura Integra, Mitsubishi Eclipse, or similar car from the early 2000s that's been modified with huge spoilers, neon underglow, fake hood scoops, and enough stickers to suggest sponsorship that never existed. These things are everywhere, driven by people who watched The Fast and the Furious in 2001 and never moved on. The modifications cost thousands but add zero performance, just visual chaos that makes the car slower and less reliable. The giant spoiler creates drag without downforce because the car isn't going fast enough for aerodynamics to matter. The lowered suspension on cheap coilovers ruins the ride quality and makes every speed bump a challenge. The loud exhaust sounds terrible because it's just a cheap muffler delete on a 4-cylinder engine. The interior usually features racing seats that don't fit properly, a steering wheel so small you can't actually steer, and enough gauges to suggest this is a race car when it's really just a former economy car with delusions. These cars started life as decent, reliable transportation and got transformed into automotive embarrassment through poor decisions and worse taste. The owners think they look fast and furious, but everyone else sees a clown car that sacrificed reliability for attention. If you're still driving one of these in 2025, it's time to grow up, remove the stickers, and accept that 2003 is over, and it wasn't even that cool then. There you have it, 15 cars that turn you into a rolling joke the moment you pull up. From retro disasters to modification nightmares, these vehicles prove that just because you can buy it doesn't mean anyone should respect your decision. If you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe button and check out our next video on your screen. Thanks for watching, and remember, drive smart, not clown.